Oh, hello. I believe we're
Hello,
live.
everyone. We are live, and we're here about the commercialization of cats.
Commercialization of
We've lost
cats.
the true meaning of cats, and instead they're often being used to sell cat food and flea collars, and it's just gone on for too long.
I like your low key rant about the cat industrial complex. I like that. I like it a lot. Yeah, right now, our cat, who is sleeping on my bed or sleeping on a bed because I'm in
Mm.
Studio A right now, as against the Studio B, which is upstairs. This is basically the second bedroom. So the cat is
Mm.
sleeping on the bed. She can't be too close to me because she doesn't like when I raise my voice and say the funny words. I
Right,
don't think
right. Well,
I don't think my cat appreciates my sense of humor, to tell you the truth.
but good thing about your cat is that she's not shilling for anybody.
She hasn't.
She's just hanging out, being a cat.
Yeah, yeah. This is true. This is true. What's
I
up, Decon?
once got on Canadian media. It was December 31st, 1999, and I was accosted on the street by a CBC News reporter.
No, really.
And yes, and he asked me, "Do any of you have any hopes for the new year? That now that we're entering this new millennium," which was incorrect, of course, wasn't a
Mhm.
new millennium. And I started this insane rant about how we're all becoming wimpy because everyone wants their food to be altered. So if you want coffee, you have to specify real coffee instead of decaffeinated coffee. And then there's low salt options and no peanuts in various. And I started talking about how our menus were out of control,
Mhm.
and I proposed the insane idea that if you want caffeine, drink a cup of coffee. If you don't want caffeine, drink something else. And I
Right. I
went
call.
on for about 5 minutes, and it was very coherent instead of just me regularly rambling. And it made the news, and I got a lot of compliments for it. But I wish I had a recording of it.
If you only had a website, you could have been internet famous.
Mm. Yeah, when did the internet really come about? I think
I don't know.
I had a internet connection maybe in 1989.
Yeah, yeah. That was in
Yeah.
the dark days we're talking
Oh
about.
yes, yeah. It was primitive.
True that. True that.
Hmm.
So I appreciate. So it sounds like you had already locked and loaded a lot of reservations about low salt and decaffeinated coffee, and then
I
someone just happened to ask you the right question at the right time.
I hadn't really given it much thought before. It was just an idea that popped into my head because I didn't want to. Like, obviously, what's the point in hoping for peace? I mean, that's just ridiculous. But a person can hope for a decent cup of coffee.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
And if you've
you're
ever
right.
been accidentally given decaf, it's disgusting. It's like
Uh,
heresy.
Sean is correct. Technically, the internet was born around 1963. That was military, right? The internet was originally a military invention, from what I
DARPANET, I
understand.
think it was called.
What was it?
DARPANET, because it was
Okay.
started by DARPA Defense Advanced Research Projects, something or other.
Oh no, Dusty Bear says, "Sorry, I missed my the first show. My toddler's daycare is closed again. Confirmed COVID-19 case." Yeah, and this is the reason. This is one of the reasons why employers can't find workers. It's
Mm,
because you know, are you really going to make a commitment to? How can you make a commitment to childcare in an age of
mm,
COVID when your childcare centers are being closed every other day or every few days because of the virus? How can you make a commitment to work when you have to? And your first commitment, of course, is to your children. I know that's a radical
mm.
thought here in the States, is that your first, here's another radical statement, whether you're a father or a mother, your first your first priority is your children.
Would we need, of course, you can't give everyone a COVID vaccine. Maybe can't give it to a toddler yet. you can't give it to certain people, certain
Oh yeah,
medical conditions. But what if everyone was fully caffeinated? Maybe they'd stand a chance against COVID.
maybe
And
if that, it's safer than colloidal silver.
yes,
You know,
and
it's
ivermectin, and it doesn't require
ivermectin.
a prescription.
You know, and here's the thing: when I read stories about this poor guy from the first show about how he couldn't get proper medical treatment because
Mm,
beds were all jammed up with ivermectin, I would say that the people who are, I mean, you know, because of COVID, you know, he couldn't obtain the proper medical treatment because of these anti-vaxxers, or the unvaccinated. It's like, you know, Candace Owens, Joe Rogan, they are personally responsible for deaths
mm.
like that because of spewing out their stupidity about not getting the vaccine.
Yeah, I really don't understand. And why would you think that some damn thing that you heard of on the internet would cure you, but the one proposed by doctors and the CDC, is obviously part of a conspiracy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's been decades. It's been
Mm,
a decades of anti-government propaganda by the right, and it's been decades of maybe centuries of
mm.
anti-science propaganda by autocrats, by would-be autocrats and theocrats. Yeah.
Yeah, and the servility that comes about when a fascist appears on the scene. If Are we allowed to use disgusting words here on the show, or should we?
We should just try to be
Oh,
yeah. We should try
okay.
to
Well,
severe, because just because there's this whole new terms
yes, yes.
by YouTube, and so I don't even know what they are yet. So I've been trying to clean up my own language, of course, so I don't get
Well, I
into.
guess we all have to. But the nature of when a tyrant appears, for people who regard it as an opportunity to race up to him and fondle his scrotum, it is astonishing. We saw it with Trump, and I'm sure we'll see it again if Trump runs in 2024, or I hope he doesn't. Um,
Unless there's a severe medical reason, I on this channel, I have offered people, I have offered to bet people. I think it was Rage who was on here. It's like I'm willing to give you odds, actually, if someone's willing to wager that I think Trump's is gonna run in 2024, because Trump isn't a complicated guy. I think
mm,
he's going to run because he hates the idea the idea
mm.
of losing to, of all people, Joe Biden, to,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
know.
and his ego makes Trump is so obvious. You don't have to be a genius to see what's going on in the back of his mind. It's like watching a toddler going for
Oh
the
yeah.
candy.
Well, people tell you who they are. People will
Mm.
tell you who they are. It's like you look at, yeah, I'm going to bring it up, Mein Kampf. It's like, wow, he really wants to invade Russia, like really bad. He really wants to do it. And they did it just 20 years ago in World War One, or like,
Mm,
when did Mein Kampf come out? 1924. So it's so less than, they invaded Russia during World War One, and now this guy with a weird mustache, with a Charlie Chaplin mustache, which is horrible that he took,
mm.
he had the Charlie Chaplin mustache, but he's telling you that this is what he's going to do. And some
Yes.
people say who they are in the world. It's so crazy and horrible. A lot of people don't want to believe it, but yeah, some people will tell you who they are.
Some maybe we need to simplify it and have people self-identify as fascists with a tattoo on their forehead.
Well, that gets a little weird, right?
It could be
But
the mark of the beast we've all been waiting for.
it could be. This is interesting, Jesse Bear. This brings up a point I didn't get to on the first show, but it's about the new quarantine guidelines that are coming out. The daycare legally that had to close down, Jesse Bear says, had to close that age room for 10 days. So I'm worried that the daycare teachers, don't have PTO either. I will say this, Jesse Bear, when I had to take time off because of the girlfriend having COVID, there is, I believe I get 2 full weeks of, oh no, it's COVID sick care. I don't know if it's just my company. I don't know if it's statewide or federal. It's called ARPA, I don't know what it's called. But being a part-time employee, I didn't have a lot of sick time saved up. But due to this government program, that I was able to take time off. So hopefully the child care workers do have time off.
And it's particularly important for you to be able to do that. You're in the healthcare business, right?
Yeah. Well, I used to take care of people with intellectual and physical disabilities. Right now, I'm still exposed to people because I'm in research facilities, doing basic carrier work, doing DNA sample retrieval and stuff like that. So I am in medical facilities. So yeah, they don't want someone walking in where there are, sick people.
Sure.
Disease.
But having sex with them is okay. I read that somewhere. Sorry, that's really awful. I couldn't resist.
Okay, all right. We'll let it go.
Thank you. Someone said, Cryptomaria said I had an East Coast accent, but I don't have a Southwestern Ontario accent, which is where I'm from. I can't even do that sort of accent. It's so horrible. Canada has some truly horrible accents here and there.
Simply Secular Dave. Is that really true? I heard that if you wear a tinfoil hat, it keeps the colloidal silver from turning your skin blue. I'd like to see the peer-reviewed study for that. Simply Secular Dave. And that's the thing, too. When it's important, I think, for us as skeptics, for humanists, for Democrats, or people on the left, to bring up terms like that, like peer-reviewed studies. Like, how do you know what you know? What is a reliable source of information? So I just say that in jest about a peer-reviewed study, but that's how you know what's real. What is the scholarly consensus? Is this piece of information, is this research study peer-reviewed?
We should study epistemology in schools. I think we have to, because
I remember having these conversations with my kids at a very early age about how do you know what you know, and that's all epistemology is. Everyone asking yourself the question, how do I know what I know? And you're totally spot on, Big Zebra, is that the schools are not really good at doing that, trying to get you to critically think about how you know what you know.
Well, you have that problem within any school environment. There are loads of curriculum documents that can be a pile high, and it might be for a grade 7 English class when you want them to read a short story, maybe a short novel and a poem or two. And they don't get the chance to cover so much grammar anymore because it's padded thick with crap.
Yeah. There is an interesting, I was talking with Jonathan M.S. Pierce, who writes the blog A Tippling Philosopher over on the new site. He used to write on Patheos Non-Religious. He has a great YouTube channel too, by the way. His name is Jonathan M.S. Pierce. I think the name of the YouTube.
Is he the drunken philosopher? He called himself
He's not the drunken philosopher. He is English.
Oh, okay.
He's not drunk. He's a brilliant guy, great writer, good YouTuber. He just got monetized actually recently.
Hey,
and one of the projects he was working on, because he was a school teacher, one of the projects he was working on is creating these vignettes, right? These teachable vignettes where students would watch and listen to a conversation between two people, and then after they were done, after the short conversation was done, the teacher would then start talking about, hey, what are the logical fallacies you've noted? What are the problems with thinking? What are the issues with the argumentation that these two people had? And I think that's a great way of teaching critical thinking skills right there.
I think that's great. Hey, look who's joining us.
Good morning.
What's up?
Hello.
What's up, Templeman?
Hello, Mr. Templeman.
How is Texas? It looks dark.
Yeah, we're expecting some rain today.
Holy crap, your beard looks fake in this light. It looks like a fake add-on beard.
I wouldn't say that. It just looks, this is Tobin's thing. The man in shadows there. I mean,
I know, but
it's very dramatic.
It's never looked like this before. It looks like one of those ones you would wear in a play or something.
Oh, you know what might be doing it is I'm actually wearing a black T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
Behind it, so that might be what's different today.
Okay, cool.
Could be. I just sort of noted it and thought, well, what the hell? Not to suggest that you're fake in any way, Mr. Templeman. I think you're
as MC Hammer said, yes, old school reference. Too legit. Too legit to quit. Tobin Templeman right there.
Right.
Is anyone else?
I like what y'all were talking about. Huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just rambling.
I was just commenting on. I liked what y'all were talking about before, like the critical thinking and it being more used in school to get more school time.
Yeah.
But the other thing is too, like school and stuff like that for a lot of his kids, is not cool. It's not the cool thing to be smart and stuff like that. I often wonder how to make it to where being smart is actually the cool thing.
Yeah. Well, I think people should. I think it's about passion, isn't it? It's about passion. I think about once again about my own child rearing, right? About me raising my kids. It's like in talking about things that, and you want people to get angry sometimes. You want to get people angry. You want to get them excited. What you don't want them to do is to tune out, because when they're not emotionally engaged, that's what happens. They get tuned out. So when I'm talking about voting, right? One of my kids is 19 years old. And from the earliest age, I told them people from like 18 to 25 or 18 to 30, don't vote. And the reason why you're a second-class citizen, you are a second-class citizen. I'm going to say it a third time, a second-class citizen here in the States from 18 to 21 is because you do not vote. Your demographic doesn't vote. That's why if you go over to Britain, you can drink when you're 18. I remember going to Britain for the first time when I was 19 years old. It's like, I can go to a pub. Is this what it feels like being a first-class citizen? Wow, this feels pretty good. Come back here. Sorry, arbitrary rules. You can go into the military. You can own a gun. You can drive a car, but you can't drink alcohol. And I hope that has stayed with them, that kind of anger about being treated as a second-class citizen from 18 to 21. And I hope that caused at least my son, because he's of age, to go out and vote.
And they outnumber us. If they were like, if their voting block was utilized, oh man, it would be game over.
Yeah. Well, this is a good point, especially in Texas, right? Texas would be a blue state if everyone went out to vote. And that's why Republicans don't want a lot of people to vote.
Yes.
So, yes, you can hit the like button.
Oh, yeah, hit that thing.
Oh, wow, can we get the like button to sound like Biscuit meowing? I like that.
Yeah, is there any, is it too crude to say tap that like button?
You can say tap it, I think.
Okay, that's good.
I think you can say that, yeah. Yeah, so there's like a million different ways of teaching your kids critical thinking skills, a million ways teachers could be, but it's just, once again, the many problems that we're facing, it isn't a question of knowing what's right to do. It's just executing on it. It's just, having the political will to get the things done that need to be done. It's the large corporations, it's the established interests who want to make you think, oh, we don't have the answers for this, or we need more time to study about this. It's like, no, it's pretty freaking clear. It's pretty freaking clear.
And when it was an issue, education, at one point, the new math came in, of which great fun was made, notably in the Tom Lear song. But Americans realized that they were going to need mathematicians, engineers, and scientists of every stripe, if you'll excuse the expression, to beat the Russians.
Yes.
And they really pushed for improved mathematical education. And it worked, I think.
Sure. One of the most popular, and if Hemant Mehta, the Friendly Atheist, was here, he's mentioned this, I believe, on this channel before and on other people's channels. And Hemant has a huge blog, The Friendly Atheist, right? I think as people on the left, as secularists, humanists, atheists, agnostics, we all know Hemant or know his work. And his most popular post, because he has a math background. He used to teach math in Chicago. And his most popular, notorious post is about explaining to people why the new way that they're teaching math makes sense. And don't get your tits up all angry about how they're teaching your kids math. And that was his number one post of all times.
I got shown that whenever I was, educating my kids, I got learned a different way to do math. And I still don't have the quickness. I still have to go the old school way.
Yeah.
Just because it's habit for me. But yeah, it is interesting. There's some people who are just phenomenally quick with it. It just blows me away.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this story. The girlfriend's here in the chat, and so she'll find. She knows this story. So we were at the closing of one of Boston's greatest bars, Doyle's. It's been around for a long time. It was over in Jamaica Plain, and it was closing down. This is pre-pandemic. And so we were at Doyle's, and I was getting I had a proper drink on. And this is what tells you, and this is how good teachers can do the job if they know how to do their job. I was so drunk, and I told her, because I'm an idiot, I said, hey, I never really understood binary numbers. Right, about how they work. So she got out a freaking napkin and a pen, and she just said, "This is how it works, Sandy." And I'm like, looking at it, it's like, "Is it that simple?" She goes, "Yeah, it's that simple." Oh, how about that? Pretty natural.
I remember in grade 8 we had a project where we each had to pick a number and do something in that base. So it was like I chose base 4, as I recall.
Sure.
And I can't imagine kids being required to do that now. I hope they are, but I would be very surprised.
I will say this is that, of course, I came from an inner city school, so my schooling may not have been great, but my kids, I've been impressed with what they have learned in terms of math. Laughing. I've heard so many people say people don't want to work. So many people have long COVID or unsecured healthcare. That's right. People don't want to work. It's just a right-wing talking point. And when you hear that, when I hear that, it just gets me annoyed, maybe a little angry. And so I'm quick to point out that exactly your point. People have long COVID. They have unsecured child care. They have a good portion of the population has just retired. People who were close to retirement, they're like, we could just sit this out. We can just retire early. And of course, the jobs stink to begin with. The jobs just stink. A lot of them.
Yeah. It's amazing, though, like how quickly the right will be all right with, like, doing medical treatments or teaching math, to combat the Russians or whatever, whenever it seems to serve their purpose, it seems like they're ready to jump on board, and they'll be like, oh, okay, we need to quarantine. Like there's dates back in our early history where we had to quarantine and stuff. And people went along with it.
My dad taught me binary when I was 7. Basically, I learned base 2 when I learned base 10. Wow. How about that? What did I learn when I was 7? Jesus was God. That's what I learned. I learned Jesus. No, this is true. When I was 7, probably because there's a certain point in my denomination. I grew up Baptist. And one of the things they teach you at 7, up until then, up until 6, up until 7, it's all like Noah's Ark, right? It's all about happy, shiny goodness. And then they start dropping the death cult on you at around 6 or 7 about Christ being nailed up on the cross. And I vividly remember the first time it really sunk in about that they really, and excuse me for the pun, hammered that point home. It was traumatic. That's what I remember from age 6, 7. The big lesson there.
Jesus.
Horrible, traumatic memory.
There was some good news, or at least something worth remembering, is that there's an amazing biologist named E.O. Wilson.
Yep.
And he is from America's South. I can't remember where now. But you know what? Sometimes good things happen, and his life was certainly a bonus to everyone. And
he recently died, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. He died he was over 90 easily.
Yeah. And I saw that story. I glanced over it. I think his nickname was the New Darwin or something like that, wasn't it? Was it something like that? I think that was the gentleman. Yeah.
But nowadays, we could have people surrounding his home protesting Darwinism. Would any of us be surprised if that happened?
I wouldn't be surprised. Baptist math is a bit off as well. 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. Yes, that is a Trinitarian joke, everyone.
Okay.
That is a Trinitarian joke. That's why, I always talk to my, it's like Trinitarianism. That's really polytheism, monotheism, right? I mean, I've said it before, but it's important to point out the absurdity. It's polytheistic monotheism.
Yeah, the notion that Christianity, like Muslims don't consider Christianity to be monotheistic. It's obviously polytheistic.
Yeah.
And here we are insisting that there are 3 persons, one God. Sure, that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of metaphors. Because obviously there's no real way to wrap your mind around it. It's like the 3-leaf clover. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes, it's green and kind of small. That's what the Trinity is.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, I just that's a kind of a rip off of a wonderful movie with Robbie Coltrane and Eric Idle, and they're pretending to be nuns. And then about 5 years later, they made the Whoopi Goldberg Nun on the Run movie.
Nun on the Run. What's up, Randolph? Good to see you here.
Yeah, Jesus asked Mary whenever he was little, he was like, oh man, am I going to mess up this joke? Oh man, damn it.
Can I guess what the joke is?
Mary replies back, I can't answer. I don't ask questions anymore because technically you're the one who impregnated me.
Oh, yes.
I just recently saw that one, and that made me, I laughed out loud.
One of the memes that are going around is, a picture of the Holy Family, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. And the caption reads, "The only virgin here is Joseph." I thought that was funny. It's like, I should have thought of that joke, but I didn't.
I thought Tobin's joke was going to be that Joseph one day asked Jesus to take out the trash, and Jesus said, "You're not my real father."
Yes, that's a
but it's kind of. I know. I think I telegraphed that, but
that's okay.
There you go.
That's okay.
Lordy.
Oh, so yeah, people working. Yeah, most of the people are not doing it with public type. Yeah. People who have to work out in public with the physical jobs. I feel for them, in this work environment.
Yeah, out of that group, there was actually one person out of Kendra's work group who went and got tested that did have it. It seems like every time they send a group to go get tested, there's at least one person who does have it. And it's crazy because it seems to be most of the time the kitchen help. And there's been only one waitress that we can think of out of this whole period of going back to work that have actually gotten it. Most of them have been the cooks. I don't know what to make of that, but
so anyone who's a moderator, you can do that, right? Because I'm doing this. It's difficult for me to moderate while I'm doing this.
I'll have a look at it. I don't see any pornography.
No, but he is a known problem. So I trust Randolph Richardson on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there he goes. He was banned.
Excellent. Thank you.
Beat me to it.
But the thing is, don't we need more pornography? Why are we banning porn scammers?
Yeah. You can't do it here.
Place and time. Yeah.
You can't do it here. You got to do it somewhere else.
The internet needs more pornography and more cats, but don't mix the two.
Don't mix the two. No.
Don't cross the streams. I spotted an article the other day about in the USA. The USA is so interesting for us because we're not involved. We're just spectators up here in Canada.
I like how you're delusional about that, by the way, but please continue.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is that it seems like the various states are mobilizing to either enshrine reproductive rights or to get rid of them entirely.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the Supreme Court will sort of kick it back and make it a states' rights thing.
Well, that means getting rid of Roe versus Wade, and because the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, is of course full of right-wing, what's the term? Nut jobs. Then that is probably going to happen. And this is the effect. This is the effect of what happens when Democrats don't vote in midterm elections or when Democrats don't vote in presidential elections, especially, of course, presidential elections. This is just what happens.
There's, it's a difficult one. I don't know. Like, people every election try to get the vote out, but it seems, to be honest with you, very difficult to do.
Well, okay, so let's face it, there are structural impediments that Republicans set up to keep people from voting, right? There was a question somewhere, I think it was on Twitter, when I was on Twitter the other day, about whether or not people support vote by mail. And this might sound crazy, but it isn't the question of whether or not we should have vote by mail. It's the question of why don't we have vote by mail? It seems absurd that every state doesn't have voting by mail. It seems absurd. Well, it is absurd that Election Day isn't a national holiday, right?
Yes.
You would think that these are no-brainers, and they are no-brainers, to tell you the truth. It's just the fact that one political party in our two-party system knows that if those things were going to happen, it would die. It would die as a political party.
And it's crazy, too, because if we took the time, we could make it to where our phones do it. I mean, we did our taxes the other year on our freaking phone.
Yeah.
I like that. I often had the idea, I've never fallen through on it, but picking someone I don't like and filing a bogus tax return in their name that looked legitimate, but was just made up. So there would be two of them out there?
Well, I think that would be caught. I think you would end up in federal prison if caught.
If caught. That's the important part. If caught.
There's a bang to buck ratio, right? I mean, we're just gonna ignore the moral implications of what you just said. There's a bang to buck ratio. Are you gonna get really what you want for the amount of risk you're gonna be doing? Yeah, for that equation.
Well, look at it this way. What are these moral considerations of which you speak?
Well, no. I'm saying we put a pin on the moral considerations. It's are you going to get something that you want for the efforts you're going to put in? For example, I would think it's pretty straightforward in validating a person's tax information, right? In terms of forms. So it wouldn't be an incredible problem for this person to resolve. On the other hand, ending up in federal prison, that may not be pleasant.
Or having stuff taken from you.
What if we hired some Russian
reward.
hackers?
See, now you're starting to talk. Now you're starting. see, this is what happens, right? This is what happens. Well, if we can't do that, then let's put on, and we got to take Occam's razor out. And if anything, it's like, what you're saying actually supports my position.
Sure.
Because, with Occam's razor, of course, we want to have prudent arguments, right?
Yeah, but if you listen to Occam's razor, nothing would be worth doing because it rests on the assumption that you might be successful. Well, because that's why you do things.
It is the case for prudent. Once again, it's a case for making prudent analyses of arguments, right? And so there are many ways that and prudent just means, like, in a sense, efficient, right? Efficient.
Oh.
And so I'm for efficiency. That's what I am.
Well, okay. So you've just kiboshed my wonderful plan to scam.
I'm sorry. That's what I do.
Revenue Canada.
Right.
But
Jesse
now
Bear
it's all
says,
gone now.
Jesse Bear writes, I was a hairstylist for over 10 years. I refuse to go back to the salon now. I can see that. It's COVID risk. The hours stink. Missing work for any reason is looked down on. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
And with the invention of the Flowbee, it's hard to find anyone who's willing to cut hair anymore because of the Flowbee competition.
I have to tell you, I walked out of a barber shop. This is maybe about a year ago, and this was after getting vaccinated. No, this is obviously less than a year ago then. So I was vaccinated. I was walking into a barber shop. No one had a mask on. None of the staff had a mask on. I was standing there for a couple of minutes while this dude was on his phone, and I'm like, all right, I'm out. I have better things to do with my time. So yeah, there is some situations that, like I said, going into a barbershop and going into a restaurant where they obviously don't ask people to keep their masks on when it's necessary, or there isn't a stringent, rule about that with the wait staff or whoever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be here.
I hate waiting for things. I've often gone in somewhere and there's a lineup and it's taking too long, so I just book.
If holy crap, I remember the Slowbee or whatever, however you spell it. Right. And for people who don't know what it is, Big Zebra, it was it had
clippers connected to a vacuum cleaner.
Right, it looked like a hairdryer, didn't it, or something like that?
Well, it was a device that connected to your hose of your vacuum cleaner, and when you put it to your scalp, you would set it for a certain length, and it would just pull your hair in and clip it at the right length.
So many issues could go with that. Could go sideways.
A friend of mine loved it and used it, and everyone else thought he was insane.
Oh, really? Huh? I could see the insane part of that.
Well, he did later at a later date commit suicide. So I don't think there's a connection though.
Marmaduke Scarlet said, "Oh yeah, I remember it. They sold it on the Home Shopping Network. Yes, yes, one of those high quality devices that you'd find on the Home Shopping Network."
Yeah, it seems like everybody knows someone who had a Flowbee. It's like 9 degrees of 7 degrees of separation. I can't remember what it is.
The Kevin Bacon 7 degrees of separation. Yeah. I think it's 7 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I am doing, and I've been, so now that I'm working. And have you looked at some of the videos I've been dropping at nighttime? Some of the really short pieces. I am wrestling with my schedule once again now that I'm working, and so I don't know if it's going to affect my schedule here. I know that I'm always going to be doing the first show, And I'm thinking about maybe cutting back on this show. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
It all matters how much I can get done. Because not only am I doing this and that and the other thing, but I might be starting a podcast pretty soon. I'm still waiting to hear back from my overlords over at the new site. And that would actually be considerable work since.
And it's all sorts of places now to distribute your podcast. Like Stitcher is one, but there's probably a dozen others now.
Yeah. The good thing about this is I have my buddy Dennis Mailer, who worked in radio for years, and he'd be my technical guy he would be the technical part of the team to basically distribute it on all the different podcasting platforms. So that's good. But yeah, I got to figure out my schedule and what I can do with my time most effectively.
Heck yeah.
Whereas I do almost nothing, and I fall asleep during the day repeatedly. It's one of my things.
You got the apnea, Big Zebra. That probably has something
to do with it. I also have the apnea machine, and it helps a lot. But
yeah.
And I get tested so many times, and there doesn't seem to be a solution. I actually had one of the people there do something they're not supposed to do, and wake me up and interrupt the test because she was so terrified of the way I wouldn't breathe.
I mean, I've had, like for an example, when I've been to sleep studies, they would wake me up if I was sleeping on my back because with the obstructive apnea, the tongue, the soft palate, all that, now I've developed a system here at home is that I just don't sleep on my back anymore. I just sleep on my sides, and that seems to fix it. But yeah, they would definitely wake me up if I was sleeping on my back during a sleep study.
Really? Okay, that's weird.
Just because of the oxygen levels in my blood would go down pretty low.
I think maybe I can arrange an elaborate series of pulleys and weights to force my body into the right position while I sleep.
I did see the cat video parks. Funny stuff. I might put it. Yeah. Maybe I'll do something with that. Yeah, but because there are different types of sleep apnea. There's the obstructive sleep apnea, and then the dreaded central sleep apnea.
Yeah, I have both. It's pretty clear that I have both. So no waiting. But every so often the stars align and I get a really good sleep, for which I am grateful.
That's good. My girlfriend has seen, because my girlfriend and I have been dating for 3 years, she has seen my evolution of trying to figure out how does Andy get a good night's sleep? And it's been a struggle, but right now I'm getting good sleep. But that means I have to do it's maybe a 4 or 5 step process, or there's certain things I need to do. And if I don't do them, then I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning, or I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's not good.
Yes. But why do you have to drink a gallon of pickle juice every night? I don't understand.
I'm glad that you asked that. A lot of people have asked me about the pickle juice. It's all about getting my ions right with Jesus. That's what it is.
Okay. Oh, well, that'll work.
I'm not drinking that amount of pickle juice. I'm not drinking any pickle juice. This is just a bit. That's all.
I'm glad that I'm in a place where I can say something ridiculous and absurd off the top of my head, and it's just responded to in a normal way that makes perfect sense, and I love it.
Well, this is the power of comedy right there. Is that, and as many of you know, right, when you're doing improv, or it's a lot of this is just yes-anding the other person. So you never say something like, no, that's not right. You always take that point and then you go forward, spinning off that point. Yes.
I've never taken an improv class, but maybe I should someday. I don't know.
Well, there was a gentleman on this channel, and he's a Second City alumni, from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And he said a lot of lawyers, a lot of salespeople, a lot of people in business actually go to Second City and take classes to help them talk the talk, basically. And I can definitely see that, because, you know, especially if you're a salesperson, especially if you're a lawyer, if you're a CEO, a lot of your job is communicating with people. And the one thing improv teaches you is how to do the verbal jujitsu.
Mm.
It is a skill.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good with public speaking, which strangely I'm not so good at private speaking. My small talk skills would be the subject of a sitcom.
Well, I
But
have to
if
tell
you,
you got a
sorry?
great voice. You got a great
Oh,
voice.
thank you.
I have a nasally northeastern establishment kind of voice myself, but you, Big Zebra, you got the voice for radio. You got the voice for podcasting.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Maybe I'll try that one day. But I don't think your voice is bad at all. I enjoy it. It's Tobin who's the real problem. Sorry,
Can never
I couldn't
remember
let that
what
go.
he's even trying to say.
I enjoyed for a while suggesting that Tobin was responsible for COVID-19, like he had invented it in his garage. But that got old. It sort of, wound its way down.
You'll find out that a lot of bits get old pretty fast.
Yeah, you have to know when to pull the plug on those suckers, no matter how much you're in love with them.
Yeah, true enough.
Hey, if it's okay, do you mind if I sign out? I'm sort of
dude. Go ahead.
losing altitude.
All right, dude. You don't
All
want to
right.
crack. See you later,
Yeah,
sir.
I really don't. Bye-bye now. Good
Later,
to see you
BT.
both.
Take care. Jesse Bear writes, this is interesting. One of my children have sleep apnea. Was corrected via tonsil and adenoid removed. Yep, they were 3 when they took them out, born with enlarged tonsils, made worse by many strep throat infections. That's what happens when you have enlarged tonsils. I guess there's more space around the tonsils for infection to occur. And so congratulations on being able to spot the problem. A lot of people don't realize they have apnea until later on in life. And sometimes it's just as easy. It's just a simple deal of getting your tonsils and adenoids removed. Yeah. One of my children has restless leg syndrome and affected their sleep. So now they have to take some medication, nothing heavy duty or anything, just to keep the restless leg syndrome under control. That's it.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty fortunate. None of us have really had any health issues that were. I mean, we've gotten sick and stuff like that, but we have not had to deal with any of those major things like that. And I my sympathy towards people that have to deal with those kind of things.
What amazed me as a young parent back in the day is how often kids get sick, right? Like they just seem to be, it's like, wow. Again.
Yeah. One of the worst times my kids got sick was from eating at a buffet, and it was freaking horrible. And they both hit them at the exact same time. It was the biggest mess ever.
The worst way, dude. Buffets are murderous.
Yeah, we don't go back no more.
Yeah. I got the worst case of food poisoning when I was visiting New York City a long time ago. And it wasn't a buffet, but it was one of those large diners. And within a short period of time, the rest of my trip was just off the table. It just like, I was just in the hotel room in pain, going in and out of the bathroom. And then I had to take a train back home from New York to Boston. And I was able to do that effectively with the least amount of pain. But yeah, it's not like a bad case of food illness. That's horrible.
Yeah. I agree with that. That is sure.
This is interesting, Jesse Bear. When I made contact, or when my biological mom made contact with me, a lot of my issues, a lot of my stuff became much more clear. Like, we all have bad ears on my mom's side of the family. So I have tinnitus. Always have the ringing in my ears. And a lot of my brothers and sisters have ear issues too.
I have had one time where my ear just like filled up with wax. It was crazy, but it felt so good. We got this like syringe that
Oh, I
had
know that. Yeah.
and it sprays water and a mist or whatever. Oh, that felt so good. That was so relieving. That's one of the things that were really annoying, getting that. I think I got it because of wearing earbuds.
Interesting.
Like, I'm not sure, but maybe that is just coincidental.
Maybe. Buffets. This is funny from John Hudson, and this is true of buffets. Not only are you eating bad food, but you eat a lot of bad food. Yeah. I think a lot of people who go to buffets, they're working things out in an unhealthy way, in a maladaptive way. They're working their issues out somehow, right? But now, just talking about buffets, and even though I know that they're evil and I can't do one, I know there's a buffet right down the street. It's like, wow, maybe I want to go to a buffet. But no, Andy Hall, you can't do that because you're going to get sick in COVID, and COVID and sick that way.
Yeah, everybody doesn't have the same ethical way about, picking up their food and things like that. And then there's just people who are disgusting and are purposely trying to like either get themselves sick or get others sick by spreading it's ugh.
Yeah. Well, John Hudson raises another good point. People come out of the buffet saying that it was good. And there's an association with good food with being stuffed. And you're right. There is a difference between having the sensation of being stuffed and there is having good food. And there are two different tasting good food. They're two different things. Oh, going to Vegas? Yeah, Vegas has a lot of buffets, Sean. I've only been to Vegas twice and had a horrible time each time. I know, the girlfriend always says, you went with the wrong people. You went to Vegas with the wrong people. And that's probably true.
I still haven't gotten to go there yet. One day.
Well, you're not even that. I mean, I know this just tells you how little I understand of the distances in other parts of the country. So you're in Texas, Nevada's up there. Is that a day's drive?
I would guess it's definitely got to be over 15 hours.
Yeah.
I would guess it would be somewhere in between. Yeah, probably 24 and maybe like 30 something. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So at least a good day if you're driving nonstop kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like from my point here, I can make it to Florida in about 13 hours.
No, that's interesting.
But that's if I'm, going 70 at least and, minimal stops.
Right. Yeah. Oh, the girlfriend says Texas, because of course she lived in Texas for a while, a number of years. 24 hours from Texas to Vegas, and then 15 would get you to Denver. There you go. All right, I think I'm going to start closing up shop because I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat, and then I have my review today. I have my review today at work, so that'll be exciting, right? All fluttery about that. So everyone, we're going to do the same crazy thing tomorrow. Tobin, you got anything coming up, brother?
Man, I'm working it. I've hit some roadblocks, but I'm still working. I'm still trying to make progress happen.
That's all we can. That's the only thing anyone can say at any time. Said, I'm trying to make progress happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
I'm working towards it.
I'm working towards the goal, and that's what it is. All right, everyone. Thank you. People watching on Facebook and Twitter. People watching, of course, on YouTube. Thanks for showing up. We're going to do the same crazy thing tomorrow, everyone. Take care.
Later, y'all.
And now I'm going to hit the end broadcast button.